welcome to the Next Best Picture podcast, where I'm being joined right now by the directors of Final Destination, Bloodlines, Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein.
Hello, and thanks for having us.
So, franchise best reviews, best box office. How are you feeling?
I mean, feeling great. I mean, so our favorite thing of this whole process was opening weekend, looking in at all the theaters and seeing everyone scream together, laugh together. It was just such an amazing experience to see people connect with this movie. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really cool to go around. We've even snuck into 40X theaters, seeing people like spill their popcorn everywhere as the seats were flying them around. It's great.
It was a great theater experience. I myself, unfortunately, did not get a chance to experience that. I heard secondhand. I was at Cannes when this film came out. So I
Oh.
actually saw it for the first time at home, as now many other people are going to get a chance to experience it. I'm curious to know, because I know IMAX is such a big part of marketing and things like that nowadays. How would you say this is best enjoyed at home for viewers?
Well, I think the really fun thing about the home release is that we had so many Easter eggs that we packed this movie.
Oh,
The whole every scene has Easter eggs hidden within it. So you kind of miss that in the theater because you're watching it for the first time. But at home, you can really like watch it again and again to analyze it. And there's some that we're still even discovering for the first time because we empowered the crew to put Easter eggs in without even telling us. So there's some that we're still seeing for the first time in that way.
hmm. How do you find the right tone between honoring what came before in the franchise? Because obviously, death is no laughing thing, but yet this movie is also a tremendous amount of fun. I'm constantly shocked by how much I was able to enjoy this franchise when I really felt like, X amount of years ago, it had run its course. You guys gave it new life and new energy.
Yeah, well, I think we wanted to fill it with all sorts of different feelings, all of the fun that Final Destination is known for, these crazy anxiety-driven set pieces that you're just like cringing in your seat as you're watching. We really wanted to find things that we could ruin for people in the way that the earlier films had ruined, tanning beds or logging trucks or all those types of things. But then we also really wanted to kind of bring in some heart into the film and some humor into the film and like bring in all these other elements to kind of give the audience every different feeling. There's moments where they're crying, there's moments where they're laughing, there's moments where they're cheering in bloodlust when 12-year-old children get crushed to death. Things like that, where it's like you're just giving everybody every different type of thing, but we always love movies that make you feel everything, and so I think we've both felt pretty confident that we could bring all those different emotions into the movie where it didn't have to just be grim and it didn't have to just be comedy and it didn't have to just be, drama.
It was also fun to hear about so many people who were seeing Final Destination for the first time with this installment. Because, the last movie being 14 years ago, a lot of people were coming to this movie and it was their first Final Destination movie. So we really tried to make the movie work for people who had never seen a Final Destination movie before, just as much as for long-term fans.
Yeah. Now, they always talk about how Dev has a design. Obviously, as directors heading into this project, you must have a design of how you are going to execute these scenes. I have to imagine this has to be meticulously shot planned in advance. I can't imagine any other way to do it. When you got to set and you had to execute the vision for this, what was the one element that was even the most surprising or most difficult still to pull off?
Well, it definitely takes years and years of planning.
Yeah.
Everything is storyboarded to the extreme in terms of the death sequences. Um, I think but at the same time, we really love to work with the actors to have undiscovered moments within the, structure of the film. And so one thing we tried to do throughout is use a lot of improv with the actors to capture unscripted moments between them. And a lot of the real, funniest moments between the characters happen in those bits of improv, whether it's Richard Harmon who plays Eric, when he finds out that his dad is Jerry Fenbury, and he storms out of the room. Every time he stormed out of the room, we had him shout something different just off the top of his head. So what's in there was an improv, and a lot of the moments between the two brothers in the hospital were improvised, or even little stuff between Stephanie and her brother, Charlie, improvised in that car scene between them. So we love working with actors who have that gear in terms of their talents and really finding those undiscovered moments.
And on the death design elements, it's really fun as a
Mhm.
director because we basically get to be death because death isn't personified in the film, right? It's
Mhm.
just it's an entity that you feel and sense purely through the filmmaking. And as filmmakers who are designing these set pieces and figuring out the crazy Rube Goldberg that's going to kill these people, we're essentially death in that situation and getting to figure out also which parts of this do we show the audience and which parts don't. I think one of the reasons Final Destination is so much fun for an audience is that it's participatory, that us as filmmakers are kind of showing you things that the characters don't necessarily know about or aren't aware about. And that makes you come to your own conclusions. And then you realize that you came to the wrong conclusion. And there's always this fun kind of participatory element that as filmmakers is so much fun to figure out.
The other fun thing about it being available at home is we kept hearing from people that they went to see the movie, but then they wanted to bring other friends to see the movie a
Yeah.
second time. So now that it's available at home, you can watch it with different groups of friends and watch their reactions. Because part of the most, as we experienced it, it was so much fun seeing people's reactions to those surprises that are in the movie.
Yeah. I can imagine, like, how people film other people's reactions of, you know, Luke, I'm your father, or the Red Wedding, or whatever. Just like, I can imagine, I imagine people's filming their loved ones watch this movie would be pretty good.
I think so too. As long as there's no glass in the glasses, yeah, the
Oh,
glass of ice that people drink when they watch it, I'm sure they'll be okay. Um, Speaking of improvised lines, I had heard that the dearly departed Tony Todd's last lines improvised on set. Was that a one and done? Did he get a couple of shots at it? How did that
Yeah, I mean,
go?
I think
yeah.
we worked really closely with him building that whole scene and crafting the narrative of it. And basically the lines that were written, he says in the scene, but then it felt like it still needed one extra little moment after that. And
Hmm.
so when he was at the door in that scene, we kind of just asked him to speak from the heart about what this is all about. These movies, his experience as being Bloodworth, but also just he was ill when we were filming with him. So kind
Yeah.
of his mortality was present in the room. And we just thought, if you give him the opportunity to basically speak directly to the audience about what this is all about, that we should see what comes out of that moment. And he really speaks to this idea of savoring every moment, every second is precious, and you see in his eyes how much he means that. And I think it's a really amazing moment because if anyone who knew Tony Todd or got the ability to meet him at an event or anything, you just saw how much life he'd lived with so much joy and cherishing every second. And you never really got to see that with Bloodworth, but just getting that little piece of it at the end was really special.
Yeah. And speaking of our time coming to an end, one character in particular in this movie who gets its final day in the sun is the penny.
That's right.
The US Treasury is phasing out the penny, and yet the penny is so prominent in this film, you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
I couldn't help but have a bit of irony, like while I was watching this,
Well,
you
really,
know?
Maybe it was because of this
the
movie.
entire reason we made this movie was a public service announcement, and they finally listened to us.
They could still have more pennies in future installments if they don't take place in the present day.
That's right.
Because, pennies have been around.
That's right.
This has really brought up a conversation, though, about revitalizing franchises who a lot of people feel like their time is done. Now, a lot of other franchises that are ongoing just seem to never take any kind of a break. They just keep coming out with new films either every year, every 2 years, 3 years, et cetera, et cetera. Curious to know if there is another franchise from the past that's been long forgotten or, maybe has some juice left in it that you would love to tackle.
Wow,
I'm sure
that's a
there's
big
many.
question. There are many. Yeah, I mean, we grew up with so many iconic franchises that we'd love to play in those playgrounds. I think that the key thing that um, we've sort of realized as we've been discussing this movie and different, franchises out there is it's really all about capturing the feeling of the
Hmm.
original. I think so many times people think, oh, we have to do fan service to certain characters or
Yeah, greatest
we have
hits, if
to,
you will.
greatest hits or like we have to reference things. And I
Yeah.
think what fans are looking for more than that is really capturing the magic of what made the movie so special that they fell in love with. Um, in terms of other franchises,
Yeah, I
we
think
I don't know I don't know if like we've one great thing about Final Destination Bloodlines being such a big hit is we've gotten to have meetings with such incredible people around Hollywood, and we're actually talking about certain other franchises that we probably can't talk about on this podcast, but
the
who
fun.
knows if they'll actually end up happening. But the fun of thinking about how would you reinvent this or that is definitely something that's on top of our minds right now every day. um,
Very fun to think about.
Yeah, no, especially considering, like you said, it's something that opens up a lot of doors then, and possibilities are just endless there. And that's exciting, you get to pick and choose, if you
Yeah,
will, at that point.
well, I don't know if we get to pick and choose, but if they'll have us, it's really we're just so honored and blown away by the reception of this movie because, just a few years ago we made an indie,
Yeah.
just a small indie called Freaks that really hit on Netflix and a lot of people in the industry saw it and liked it, and that got us up the chain to meet on this movie, and now this movie doing so well is opening new doors for us. But we still feel the same. We're just lucky to be here and lucky to be making movies, and we're very just grateful for the opportunities and for the people who have seen the movies that are giving us these opportunities. So yeah, it's we're still in a dreamlike state of is this really happening?
Well, let me ask you this question. Forget about other franchises for a second. Obviously, with renewed interest within this franchise in particular, do you still feel that you have something to offer or say to Final Destination, or do you think you laid it all out on the table with this one?
I think both those things are true. We definitely put every single idea that we could think of into this movie. There's not this
Hmm.
like long list of deaths and set pieces that we weren't able to include. So very much our heart was left on the field on this film. But if anything, this franchise has proven that death's work is never done, and you can always ruin more things and find new ways in. So I'm sure there will be more Final Destination movies.
And I think the way that Bloodlines reinvented Final Destination and tried new things, whether it was
Yeah.
period pieces or making it about a family for the first time, shows that there's lots of different ways you could reinvent the idea of death for future installments.
I couldn't agree more. Gentlemen, this has been a real pleasure for me because, quite frankly, like I said, I thought my time with this franchise was done and I had such a great experience watching this. And I
Awesome.
agree. I think it's best enjoyed with other people, whether that's at home or in a movie theater, in any setting. You guys made a film that was built for an audience, and that's appreciated. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks,
Awesome.
Matt.
Thanks so much for talking to us.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.